welcome to Barca News. It is February 20th, 2026. And ladies and gentlemen, reports revealed that the Spotify Camp Nou is over budget by a lot. Also, reports stating that Julian Alvarez will join Barcelona after the World Cup. And finally, a presidential candidate claiming that he has already contacted Harry Kane's camp. We have a lot to discuss, so let's begin. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the channel. My name is Bo. This is the Barca News Live podcast, which is on every Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, where not only we discuss Barcelona news, but we also get to interact with you lovely people in the chat section by reading your comments, answering your questions, and getting that discussion going. So start filling out that chat section with your comments and questions so we can get this popping. Now, if you are looking for any Barcelona jerseys, merchandise, or any merchandise from other football teams or sports teams, make sure to FedEx, Goal Kits, or Kickback. If you are looking to place any sports bet, not just on Barcelona matches, but on any sporting event around the world, make sure to bet us. All links are down below in the description. You click on them, you get access to some pretty cool deals and offers. And finally, of course, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment. Now, let's begin with the news. And as always, the first segment of news is comprised of multiple bits of news combined together for the sake of brevity. It's starting with an update in regards to the Barcelona elections, because today there was supposed to be a debate held in the channel Mundo Deportivo. It's one of the main sports channel in Spain. And all the candidates, including Joan Laporta, Marc Siria, Victor Font, and Villajoana, were going to be present at this debate. And the topic of the debate was the sporting direction of the club. In other words, where's the sports project going? What players Barcelona, each candidate would hope to sign or renew or bring or blah, blah, blah. Anyways, sporting direction. That was the topic of the debate, but the debate ended up getting canceled because Joan Laporta refused to show up. Now, why did Laporta not show up? Seems that during final moments, like leading up to the debate, Victor Font, who was one of the candidates, decided to change the person who was going to show up to the debate, because this wasn't going to be a debate in between the actual candidates. This was going to be a debate between people from the candidates' group or camp or board, you know. And Victor Font was initially going to send Jaume Guardiola to debate, but then he changed it to Carles Blanchard. Now, if you don't know who these people are, make sure you watch yesterday's video. I did an election update where I announced or reported on how Victor Font has announced that he has hired or added to his campaign 3 people who would be in charge of the sporting direction of the club. Instead of having one sporting director, it would be 3 people who would kind of work together and would make decision together. 2 of those 3 people are these: Jaume Guardiola, who was initially set to debate, and then Victor Font decided that no, it's going to be Carles Blanchard who was going to show up to the debate instead. And of course, Joan Laporta's campaign said, absolutely not. You can't change the person last minute. So we're not going to show up at all. So Laporta decided not to show up to this debate. There was a lot of calls, you know, the channel, everybody kept trying to convince him. Finally, he agreed, okay, fine, I'll go to the debate. But by then, since the debate had been canceled, Marc Siria, one of the candidates, said, oh, I already made other plans since I didn't think this debate was going to go through. So the debate did not go through. I personally think that's a really cheap-ass excuse by Joan Laporta not to show up. Who gives a fuck who goes on behalf of Font? I don't care if it's Jaume Guardiola, Carles Blanchard, if it's Jesus Christ himself. Like, who cares who's debating on behalf of Font? If you are sure of what you have to offer, if you're like, all right, this is what I have planned for the next 5 years, I'm sure that it's the best deal ever for the club, you just show up and you give your plan. That's it. And if it's a great plan, people are going to vote for it. Who cares who the other people are sending on their behalf? Like, just show up. But anyways, that's what happened in the debate that did not take place today. Now, on to that next bit of news, and this is a huge one. This is a great, great, great piece of news. It sure made me very, very happy, put a big smile on my face. But ladies and gentlemen, today, after a very, very long time, after a surgery, after physical rehab, after training by himself in the gym, followed by training by himself on the pitch, ladies and gentlemen, our lion, our warrior, Gavi, for the first time since getting injured at the beginning of the season, officially joined the group training. And this is huge, huge news because, as you know, when you're recovering from an injury, the final step of the recovery is to start training with the group. So this clearly means that Gavi is very ready to finalize his recovery and be back any moment. Now, of course, once the doctors clear Gavi to play, don't expect him to all of a sudden start matching and playing 90 minutes. I'm pretty sure Hansi Flick will have a plan for him so he can be reincorporated slowly and gradually, just like Marc Bernal, just like Gavi when he was first tore his meniscus and ACL, or actually he tore his ACL, damaged his meniscus. Of course, this return now won't be as prolonged as the first one because the first one, remember, he had to undergo surgery to completely rebuild his ACL and repair his meniscus. This time, his ACL and meniscus were not torn or damaged. They simply had to go in and just clean up the area. So this surgery was not as serious as the last one. The last one, he was out for an entire year. This one, he was out, I think, 4 months or 5 months. So obviously not as serious, so the return won't be as prolonged. But nonetheless, Gavi is back. Gavi has joined the group training, and that is absolutely amazing, amazing news that made me very, 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 very happy. Now, the last bit of news of this first segment is also good news. We're starting with good news. We're starting right. It's the weekend, so we have to start with good news. But ladies and gentlemen, Barcelona have finalized their latest signing, someone we've been talking about for quite some time on this channel, and it's no other than AJ Tavares, the 16-year-old English left winger currently playing, or not anymore, I guess, for Norwich under 18. He also plays for England's under 17, someone that Barcelona were working on signing for quite some time. The signing got a little bit delayed due to bureaucratic reasons. Yesterday, I told you in the video that the signing had been completed. The player had agreed. His club had agreed. Everything was done, signed, all the paperwork finalized. The only thing that we're waiting was for the approval of FIFA because he is underage. He is 16 years old, so FIFA have to approve it. It's kind of like a measure to prevent child trafficking. But now the approval has come through. It's official. AJ Tavares will land in Barcelona on Sunday. So that's the day after tomorrow in order to join the Juvenil A, or the under 19 Barca team. Now, AJ Tavares is considered one of the most, if not the most promising player currently in England. And well, now he will be joining FC Barcelona. So one more signing. Really good job by Deco and Joao Amaral this winter transfer market, because they signed the center forward Hamza Abdel Karim, Patricio Pacifico, the left back, Uruguayan left back, Jubens Leonstein, the Dutch center back, and now AJ Tavares, the English left winger, who, by the way, does have a Portuguese passport. This is how Barcelona were able to sign him, because remember, after Brexit, Great Britain is no longer part of the European Union. So given that he is under 18, Barcelona wouldn't have been able to sign him if he only had a British passport. But because he has a Portuguese passport and Portugal is part of the EU, you can sign under 18 players. And well, AJ Tavares, ladies and gentlemen, our latest signing. Let's go. Anyways, let's begin with the comment section, and then we are going to talk about the Spotify Camp Nou, because we do have an update. Not a good one, but nonetheless an update. Yesterday, we had a good one. If you haven't seen the video from yesterday, make sure you do. What you waiting for, bro? All right, let's see. Comment section. Let's go. Justice Boyo says, hello, Mo. Justice Boyo from the Gambia. I am so happy to see the injury boost ahead of the upcoming sakes. And I wish our board to make healthy summer signing and give Flick what he wants. Amen, my friend. I hope so too. But of course, one thing is to wish this. Another thing, whether this wish can actually be accomplished given our financial situation and financial fair play situation. P4K Chema says, Mo, in your personal opinion, do you think we hit the 1-1 rule in the summer? Also, did you see Walter Mate is unhappy at Newcastle? Flick wanted him for the 9 before Newcastle beat us. What do you think? So, as long as the 1-1, I think we are much closer to be under the 1-1 this summer. So I think the possibility is, or the probability, I should say, is much bigger than previous years. But will we for sure? At this point, I don't believe a single thing Laporta promises. For me now, it's see it to believe it. So is it possible? Yes. Will it happen? I don't know. Because, again, it is John Laporta. And as we know, John Laporta, very charismatic dude, knows how to promise shit. And whether he can actually fulfill those promises, that's another story. Anyways, as far as Nick Waltmate, I haven't heard whether he's happy or unhappy at Newcastle. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, it's fucking Newcastle. Who joins Newcastle? No offense to Newcastle. Hopefully we don't have any Newcastle fans here on the channel. But, I mean, it's fucking Newcastle. Like, come on. But what do I think? Nothing. Doesn't matter. Newcastle paid a lot of money for him, so it doesn't matter how happy or unhappy he is. Signing him is going to be impossible. I mean, let's see. How much did Newcastle pay for him? Newcastle paid 75 million euros. What does that mean? That means they're going to want 90 probably. They're not going to sell him. They're not going to sell him for less than 75 because they would be losing money. They're not going to sell him for 75 because they would be breaking even. And, remember, they had to pay him a salary for a year, so they would actually be losing money. So they're going to want at least 90 mil. So it doesn't matter. He's happy, unhappy. It's irrelevant. We're not going to be able to afford him anyway. That train has sailed. Oh, that ship has sailed. The train has sailed. I wanted to say that train has left the station, but then I wanted to say the ship has sailed. So I ended up saying the train has sailed, and I guess the ship has left the train station. But yeah, it doesn't matter because that ship has sailed. I mean, the moment to buy Waltmate would have been when he was at Stuttgart, but even then, 75 mil we didn't have, right? And now it's going to be way, way more expensive. So definitely not happening. Waffle. I like waffles, but you know what? I prefer French toast. What happened to Goretzka? Tired of having attack in midfield easily broken by defenders and midfielders. Goretzka, he looks like he's going to be headed to Atletico Madrid, maybe. Not the Gamer says, Yo, Mo, you know why Barca is so ass the last couple of games? It's because I forgot to trash talk Ferran. It's all your fault, man. It's all your fault. Why? And Wizao says, I hope Pedri can play fully again soon. Without Pedri, Barca has no one who can play a killer pass or see runs. Amen, my friend. But of course, don't expect that to happen against Levante on Monday because, he just came back from injury. They're saying maybe 15 minutes. That's when it's going to happen. One more comment, and then we'll get back to the news. But Not the Gamer says, Julian Araujo, after getting loaned out from Bournemouth to Celtic, is doing very good potential return. Julian Araujo, no. I don't think Julian Araujo has the level to be a Barca player. I mean, there's a reason he's succeeding at clubs like Bournemouth and Celtic. Being good at Bournemouth and Celtic is not the same as being good at Barca. Anyways, let's get back to the news because we do have to talk about our home, our fortress, our stadium, the Spotify Camp Nou, which I will finally visit since it reopened next month in March. I'm very, very excited. I'm flying. I actually finally booked my flight. I'm a last minute kind of guy, so I booked my flight yesterday. Today, I booked my hotel. Yeah, I know. I had to pay very expensive rates because, of course, I waited till the last minute. But I'm flying to Barcelona. March 19th is when I leave. I land there March 20th. That's a Friday. I'll be there Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And I hope to catch, the plan is to catch the match between Barcelona and Rayo Vallecano. And don't worry, I will take my camera with me. and I will do a special video of my visit to the Camp Nou. I will film the Camp Nou from the outside, from the inside, show you what the progress is. Remember, I did a video back in the day when the Camp Nou started to get demolished. Well, now it's going to be an update now that the Camp Nou has reopened, and hopefully by then the 1C license would have been issued, and hopefully I'll be able to see the first two rings completely full, as opposed to now where it's just the lateral stands and the south goal. Anyways, Camp Nou, ladies and gentlemen, it's been revealed that the Camp Nou will cost 200 to 300 million euros more. In other words, the Camp Nou construction project is way over budget. Now, Barcelona had initially asked for a loan of 1.4 billion euros. That's not just for the Camp Nou. Remember, the Espai Barça project is not just renovating the Camp Nou. It's also the Palau Blaugrana, which is the stadium right next to the Camp Nou where basketball is played, the hockey team plays, where the indoor football is played, handball too, pretty much all the other sports. They're all played at the Palau Blaugrana. It's in very dire need of renovation. It looks like it's falling apart. I've never been inside of it, but I've walked by it a bunch of times because it's right there. It's part of the campus, right? So when you enter the campus, you pass by the Palau Blaugrana. You also pass by the Barcelona store, and there's a restaurant there. There's the museum. But yeah, Palau Blaugrana looks straight out of a zombie movie. Like, it needs a dire repair. Which, by the way, excuse me, we still don't know why construction hasn't began on it. Joan Laporta and his board have completely failed to explain that. The loan was to renovate both the Camp Nou and the Palau Blaugrana, and yet the Palau Blaugrana project has not taken off, and nobody knows why, and Laporta refuses to explain it. But anyways, the loan was for 1.4 billion euros to renovate the Camp Nou and the Palau Blaugrana. Out of that 1.4 billion, 960 million were designated for the Camp Nou. So almost 1 billion designated for the Camp Nou. But it looks like now it's going to cost between 200 to 300 million euros more. In other words, instead of 960 million, it's going to end up costing between 1.2 to 1.3 billion euros. Now, this, of course, is a huge blow because it means Barcelona is going to have to borrow more money. And as you know, when you borrow money, you have to pay interest on it. And these are very long loans. So the 200 to 300 extra might end up being 400 to 600 million extra, if not 600 to 900 million extra to build the Camp Nou. Now, of course, all major construction projects, most of the time, end up being over budget. So not a big surprise. But of course, the problem here is not the fact that we're going over budget, but is that part of this extra spending is going to have to be unnecessary spending because, as I mentioned before, Limac, the Turkish company, which Barcelona hired to rebuild the Camp Nou, is a company that has zero experience building or renovating stadiums. And there were a lot of things that they didn't know how to do. So Barcelona had to hire other construction companies to do the work that Limac was hired to do, but didn't know how to do. So that was extra money that Barcelona had to pay. Also, there's some work that has been done by Limac that is not up to par of what that work should be. And Barcelona have also had to hire other companies to fix the work that Limac was hired to do, that they did do, but they did it in a bad way. And this is what I mean where the problem lies, right? Going over budget, that's normal. Any big project goes over budget. That's just expected. Delays and going over budget is part of any construction project. But to have to hire other companies to do work that the company you hired doesn't know how to do, or that they did, but they did it bad, that's a new level of incompetence of Laporta and his board. And again, this begs the question. What the hell happened, and why did Laporta hire Limac? Remember, when Barcelona were looking for construction companies to renovate the Camp Nou, they established a board a board of experts, architects, engineers, people who know about stadium construction. And all the construction companies submitted bids to this board. And the board went through all the bids, and Limac was ruled out. They said this company has no experience. They don't know what the hell they're talking about. Their bid doesn't make any sense. It's way, way below the value of all the other bids. And the timeline doesn't make sense. The timeline is super short, and there's no explanation why their timeline is much shorter than all the other companies and why their cost that they're projecting is way lower than all the other companies. There was no explanation. It was just like, we're going to do it faster and cheaper. Why? Because we will. But you have no experience. Yeah, but we will. So the Barcelona's own experts, the experts that Barcelona hired, said no, we cannot consider Limac. They don't know what the fuck they're doing. We have to consider all these other companies. Weeks later, Laporta seen at a Galatasaray match in the presidential box with the CEO of Limac, and lo and behold, a week after that, the deal is approved. Barcelona hire Limac. But people say I'm crazy when I criticize Laporta. Mo, you're just a hater. Mo, Laporta, he built a dynasty, someone said in the comment section. Yeah, I'm the crazy one. But anyways, that's so far the extra cost, 200 to 300 million euros. We'll see, of course, as the construction continues to move forward. That number could go up. But anyways, let's get back to the comment section, and then we are going to talk about Julian Alvarez. I'm fucking tired of talking about Julian Alvarez, but unfortunately I have to. It's kind of like last summer when it was like every day, Luis Diaz. And I was like, yo, can we stop talking about Luis Diaz? But unfortunately, I don't choose the topics. That's what's happening, so I have to talk about it. Let's see where we at. Dorian says, glad for Gavi to be back. We missed his intensity, his passion, and his leadership for this team. Amen, my friend. I definitely have missed Gavi as well. I cannot wait for him to be back on the pitch. And Barca Mama says, I can't wait to see Gavi back in the team on game day. Amen. I agree. I actually have Gavi's kit from this season. I bought Gavi's number 6 with his name on it. And yeah, I can't wait to Gavi because we need that. We need that fuel. I mean, we have Coutinho, who obviously with his intensity is so contagious that the team starts to want to, actually play and not look like a bunch of bums walking around. And can you imagine when we also have Gavi on there on the field and Rafinha? I think we'll be cooking. Which is sad, by the way, to say, because we shouldn't have to have Rafinha on the field for the other players to want to play. We shouldn't have to have Gavi on the field so the other players want to play. Players should want to play because A, they're proud of being Barcelona players, the greatest club on earth, and B, because they're making fucking millions to play. But no, it's like they have to have Rafinha on the field for them to actually fucking run. Motherfuckers, man. They piss me off. JDYN says, yes, they did. What you talking about? What are we talking about? I don't know. Defiant says, if we want to win anything else this year, we need Rashford on the left, Rafinha as a false 9, Lamine on the right, Olmo and Fermin as center forwards. Gavi, Pedri, De Jong, Casado. Hold on a minute. Rafinha as a false 9 and Olmo and Fermin as center forwards? How many center forwards do you need? So you need 2 9s and a false 9? 3 people going through the middle? With Rashford and 4 midfielders? Gavi, Pedri. Who's going to defend? You got Gavi, Pedri, De Jong, and Casado. That's 4. You have Olmo, Fermin, Rafinha, Rashford, and Lamine. And then Juan Garcia. So what? We're left with 1 defender? A line of 1? I know. Rafinha should not be a false 9. Okay. Rafinha does really great on the left. Rafinha does not have that killer instinct to be a 9. Yeah, we've seen him miss a very clear shot. I mean, we've seen him go head-to-head with goalkeepers and completely botch it. That's not his position. Okay. Number 9, you have to be a lot more clinical than Rafinha. Not to this Rafinha. It's just not his position. The same way Juan Garcia cannot play a 9. That doesn't mean he's it's bad. It's just he can't. He's a goalkeeper. Same with Rafinha. He's a winger. Swarney. Have you guys seen How I Met Your Mother? The episode with Swarley. If you know, you know. But anyways, that name, Swarndy, reminded me of Swarley. Any update on Hamza Abdul Karim? How is he doing? He is actually doing very well. The coaches are very, very impressed with him. They were already expecting, someone who's very good. He is the most promising player to come out of Egypt since Mo Salah. So they were already expecting someone that was, good, that was impressive. And they got the surprise that he was even more impressive in person. So they're very surprised with him. As far as him playing, don't expect that anytime soon. Remember, he's coming from not only a different country, but a completely different continent. So it's gonna be a long time until he adapts to Spanish football, European football, and of course, learn the Barcelona concepts, which is not many people know because not many clubs teach it, right? Only a handful. Maybe if you're an Ajax player that moves to Barcelona, that's an easy adaptation as opposed to from other clubs to Barcelona. Let me see. What is everybody talking about? I don't know what's going on. Defiant says, what are you talking about, bro? He always plays well down the center. He moves there all the time. I don't think this conversation have anything to do with me. Here we go. Triple X says, Mo Laporta said we'll make signings if it's necessary. This old head politician, he won't make a damn signing. Then he'll say he didn't need any signings and blame it on the players' camps. Oh, man. Anyways, let's get back to the news because we do have to talk about Julian Alvarez. Yes, I know. I'm tired of talking about Julian Alvarez, but we'll have to talk about it because we have to address the report that came out yesterday. It would be irresponsible of me if I don't discuss it because the report did come out. The report did take social media by storm, and a lot of people not only read it, but ran with it and believed it. And even though I don't believe in spreading fake news for the sake of likes and subscriptions, I do have to talk about fake news in order to tell you that it's fake news, even though it would be a much more beneficial if I told you this fake news was real. If I put on the thumbnail, Barcelona will sign Julian Alvarez, and I come here and I tell you, Barcelona will sign Julian Alvarez, I mean, this video would explode with likes and subscriptions, but I'm not in the business of likes and subscriptions. I'm in the business of telling you what's actually happening because, as you know, this is not my main job. This is a hobby. I actually earn very little from this channel, and therefore, I don't depend on the likes and subscriptions to pay my bills because I have a job that pays my bills. And therefore, I don't have to lie to you just so I can make more money so I can pay my bills. So let's talk about this report because yesterday I saw it when I was preparing yesterday's videos and I didn't even click on it. I read the headline and I immediately rolled my eyes and I was like, these motherfuckers are back at it again. And I ignored it. And I shouldn't have because, well, like I said, it caught on fire. Everybody ran with it. Everybody believed it. And it was the talk all day. Now, the report came directly from Argentina, from reporters in Argentina, who claimed that Barcelona had reached an agreement with Julian Alvarez so he can join Barcelona in the summer after the World Cup, and that Barcelona were going to pay 70 million euros for him. Again, when I saw just the title of this report, I rolled my eyes and I was like, oh my God, this is fucking bullshit. So I moved on. But I should have known better. I shouldn't have moved on. I shouldn't have talked about it. I should have talked about it and told that it was a lie because, well, unfortunately, millions of people believed it. So, lo and behold, not only did people run with it and believed it, today, Atletico Madrid immediately came out and said, no, there's absolutely no agreement for the signing of Julian Alvarez. In fact, definitely not for 70, because anyone who wants to sign Julian Alvarez have to pay 200 million euros. 200 million euros. By the way, they're fucking out of their mind. Julian Alvarez is not worth 200 million. I don't think he's even worth 100. But anyways, that's another topic. We'll talk about it in a little bit. And then Julian Alvarez's agent had to come out and said, hey, there's no agreement with Barcelona. The only agreement Julian Alvarez has right now is with Atletico Madrid. In fact, by the way, this is not something the agent said, but they're saying that Atletico Madrid has even offered him a contract renewal. Now, what we do know for sure is that Julian is not too happy with the situation at Atletico Madrid. It's like, bro, who the fuck is your agent? Who the fuck advises you? You make the dumbest fucking decisions. First of all, he renews with Man City when Haaland is there, and he was never going to take the spot of Haaland. And then he realizes a year later that he made that mistake and goes to fucking Atletico Madrid. And it hasn't even been a year later, and he's already regretting that decision too. It's like, bro, who is advising you? I will advise you. Whatever they're charging you, pay me half, and I'll advise you. But you need to stop making these dumb fucking decisions because you're throwing your career away. Why the fuck would you think that Atletico Madrid would be a good fit for you? Why? Anyways. So no, Julian Alvarez is not coming to Barcelona. Barcelona did not reach a deal with him to come after the World Cup. No, Barcelona did not reach a 70 million euro deal with Atletico Madrid for Julian to come. In fact, Atletico are saying that not only is this a lie, but anyone who wants them, they have to pay 200 million euros. Which again, I think they have lost their fucking minds. Because, don't get me wrong, I think Julian is an excellent player. But is he worth 200 million? I don't think he's worth 200 million. There's maybe two players in the world that I would pay 200 million euros for. Number one is Lamine Yamal, who we already have. And number two is Haaland, who is the best 9 in the world. That's probably the only two players I would pay 200 million euros for. Julian Alvarez, I'm sorry. Again, I'm a big fan. I like what he does. But he is not worth 200 million. He's not even worth 100 mil. Maybe 80, maybe 90. But 200 million, Atletico Madrid have lost their damn mind. Now, even if Barcelona were financially healthy and can pay 200 million euros, which obviously we can't, I don't think they should. Because what we need this summer is someone to replace Lewy. We need an actual 9. And I'm sorry, but Julian Alvarez is not a pure 9. He's not a 9. Sure, he plays in that position, but he's more of a second striker, maybe even attacking mid, but he's not a 9. He's more someone that needs that freedom to float around in the attack. And he can come from the left, come from the right, come from the middle, but an actual positional 9 that can stay in the box and be the point of reference for the whole team, that's just not him. So even if Barcelona were financially healthy and even if they do have 200 million in the bank to spend on a player, to me, it doesn't add up. I would much rather Barcelona spend that on Haaland than Julian. But again, I don't even think he's worth that. But anyways, that's all I wanted to say. Again, I just saw so many people run with this, so I had to address it, even though I rolled my eyes on it when I was like, come on, are we still falling for these fucking lies? Apparently we are. So I had to address it. All right, let's get back to the comment section, and then we'll talk about Harry Kane, an actual 9 that Barcelona can actually afford. Not a second striker who we cannot afford. All right, let's see. Where did we leave off? Defiance says if we sign Kane, for example, that's going to feel a lot like when we sign Lewa, a player heading towards the end of his career. Sure, we could get a few years out of him. I mean, that's the thing. You were limited by our financial reality. Should we sign maybe someone who's 24, 25? Sure. But a 24, 25-year-old center forward that can come and make an immediate impact is going to cost you an arm and a leg, something that we cannot afford. So we have to deal with, these kind of options. Older players who, sure, they are headed towards their end, and maybe we can only get a year or two out of them. But hey, a year or two is better than 0, right? And sure, the ideal would be to get 10 years out of them by signing a 24-year-old, but we can't afford that. We can't afford that. Let's see. Not the Gamer says, Gyökeres makes Ferran looks like a shark. I knew it was a bluff. You guys remember when I said that? Everybody was on Gyökeres' dick. Gyökeres. Every fucking video by any fucking channel in the world was talking about Gyökeres this and Gyökeres that and Gyökeres. And that was what's in, right? It's kind of like, you remember when Ronaldo Nazario did his haircut where he shaved his head and had that retarded-looking bangs and everybody was doing that? That was kind of like the Gyökeres this last summer. That was the thing. Everybody, just like Labubus, everybody needed to get a Labubu. Well, everybody needed Gyökeres, right? Everybody had to talk about Gyökeres. I was like, Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying he's a bad player, but I'm like, I don't think he's as good as people make him out to be. He's definitely overhyped. And well, lo and behold, I mean, remember, people always get carried away with players performing in other leagues and other clubs, and they forget something. Being good at Sporting CP, with no disrespect to Sporting CP, actually, I don't care. Fuck Sporting CP. Why do I care if I respect them or disrespect them? It's not the same as doing great at a big club. Ferran at Valencia looked like he was fucking Ronaldo Nazario. Okay? And look at him now. He can't even score a goal in front of an empty net. Because performing at Valencia is not the same as performing in Barca or Man City. And that's something that people always forget to account for. You know, one thing's to shine at a mid-table team or in a weaker league. Remember Mariano Diaz? Mariano Diaz looked like the next Pelé when he was in the league. And then he went to Real Madrid, and I think the most that he did there was change his haircut. And that was it. But anyways, let me see. Oh, my God. By the way, I hurt my jaw. And it really hurts when I move my jaw around. Getting old sucks. Well, I don't know if it's an age thing, but I did get punched in the face. So maybe that's why. And before you think someone attacked me, no one attacked me. As some of you know, I practice MMA. That's how I got punched in the face. All right, let's see. What else? JD says he's like Kane, and when at Liverpool, he wasn't really bad in my opinion. I don't think he cost a lot, and he proved himself. If he joined us, I pick him over Vlahovic. If we're talking about Harry Kane, I do agree that I would rather Harry Kane over Vlahovic, even though Vlahovic is much younger. Calho says, I honestly think that Laporta's blunders outweigh his accomplishments. Therefore, he should be shown the door. I like Font's model, but doesn't mean he or another one will be better, but we need change. I can somewhat agree with this, yes. I think people keep getting carried away by Laporta's first term because his second term has not been as good as his first term. I think overall, if you considered who is the greatest president in the history of the club, you could probably make a good argument for Laporta. But that's mostly because of his first term. His second term has been, for me, 50-50. He's had as many bad things as he's done good things. People who are always licking his boot is like, they make him seem like he's the return of the return of the Jedi or something. Like that guy just like saved our club. I'm like, what do you mean saved our club? Our debt has grown. It hasn't shrunk. It has grown. We owe more money now. We're still spending more than we're making. Limac is an absolute disaster with the stadium. The Nike deal. We still don't know what the actual numbers are because he told us, trust me, bro, it's the best deal ever in history of football. Well, why? How? I don't know. Then we find out he paid $50 million to his buddy, Darren Dane, to mediate the deal. $50 million to mediate the deal. And then the bootlickers of Laporta try, the deal is $1 billion deal, so $50 million in the grand scheme of things is not a lot. Are you fucking kidding? Do you even buy the own bullshit excuses you come up with? $50 million is not that much. It doesn't matter what the deal overall is. Nobody charges $50 million to mediate a deal, especially when it's a deal with someone that you already have a deal with. We're not talking about, hey, I want to sign with Adidas, and I don't know anyone at Adidas. So, hey, you do know people at Adidas, so I want to hire you so you can put me in contact with Adidas because I don't know anyone there. No, we've been in business with Nike since 1999. We've been in business with them for 30 years. You tell me you needed to pay your best bud 50 million euros to mediate a deal with a company you've been in business with for over 30 years? But anyways, bootlickers will be bootlickers. What can we do? Let's see. Barca Original says, Mo, what do you think about the high line? I think it's a line that's pretty high. High line. That's what the name comes from. I'm kidding. I've talked about the high line too many times. I don't know if I want to rehash it. Jabba the Hutt says, I don't think we should sign a striker. We should gamble on Hamza. No. You're smoking some good stuff, my friend. You're smoking some good stuff. You cannot have the starting number 9 of a club as big as FC Barcelona that aspires to win the Champions League amongst other trophies be an 18-year-old kid who played like maybe 3 matches in first division football in Egypt. Egypt, bro. He didn't come from the Premier League or even Serie. No. He played like 3 first division matches in Egypt, and he's 18 years old. No, bro. No. It cannot be the starting number 9 of FC Barcelona. Now, could he be in the future? Maybe. We'll see how he does. But next season, no. You're smoking crack, bro. Night Game says, I think Alvarez if possible. He's young and think he could cook for us, and we'll have him longer than Harry Kane. But Harry Kane is more of a real striker, so I would take him as well. I mean, here's the thing. Because Julian is not really a number 9, his numbers are actually not that impressive. If you see how many attempts it takes him to score, it's a lot. Plus, the other day when he scored against us, I think it was the first time he was scoring in 9 matches or some bullshit like that. We can't have a number 9 that goes 9 matches without scoring. Not if we aspire to win everything. So that's my problem with, because he's not a number 9. He would cook for us, but not in the number 9 position. You know, if we played him in the attacking midfield position where he could just and give him that freedom so he can float around behind our front 3, he would definitely cook. But as our number 9, I don't see it. Anyways, let's move on to the next bit of news, the last bit of news, and then we will do more comments. But we do have to talk about Harry Kane. And no, it's not a Kane that has a lot of hair. Instead, it's the English striker, Harry Kane, who is currently playing for Bayern Munchen. Now, Harry Kane, as you know, is someone that has been linked with Barcelona because he has a release clause this summer that is worth 60 million euros. Something that, of course, makes him affordable for Barcelona. And given Barcelona's need for a center forward, since Lewandowski is going to be leaving this summer, well, this makes him a very attractive option because, you know, he's a world-class number 9, plenty of experience at all the levels, 60 million. I mean, this is a guy who could arrive on day 1 and immediately make an impact, immediately hit the ground running, and immediately start scoring goals for you, which is exactly what we need. And in my opinion, given the options out there and what we can afford and can't afford, for me, Harry Kane would be the ideal signing. Yes, he's 32 years old, so he's entering the final years of his career. But so was Lewy, and Lewy was actually 2 years older when we signed him. And look how that worked out, right? We had 3 incredible seasons with him. He helped us win 2 La Liga titles, 2 Copa del Reyes, 2? Yeah, right? No, 2 La Ligas, 1 Copa del Rey, 2 Spanish Super Cups. That's what it was. And I think Harry Kane could be the next Lewandowski for us. Someone that can, sure, come towards the end of his career, but give us a good 3-4 years. And again, for 60 million, something that we actually can afford. Now, ideally, of course, I would rather someone who's much younger, someone in their prime, but we can't afford someone in their prime. So when it comes to what we actually can afford, Harry Kane, especially when we're talking about names like Eta Young. Like, how do you go from Harry Kane to Eta Young? I mean, no disrespect to Eta Young, but come on, I think the option is pretty easy. Now, why are we talking about Harry Kane? Well, the reason we're talking about him because one of the presidential candidates, Xabi Villajuana, posted the following on his Twitter yesterday. Now, Xabi Villajuana is the guy on the right. No, not the lady, old lady with the glasses, but the bald guy. Again, he's one of the candidates. And he posted the picture on the left, which says, Harry, would you sign Harry Kane? Kind of like a rough translation. Would you sign Harry Kane? ? Now, today, Xabi Villajuana, who was doing an interview, and of course, he was asked about this post. Hey, what's up with that Harry Kane post? And well, Xabi Villajuana dropped the following bomb during the interview, saying, yes, we have started contacts. I personally have not, but people who will be part of my project have begun sounding things. So Xabi Villajuana stating that his campaign or people who are running with him have actually already reached out to Harry Kane's camp to see if he would be willing to sign for Barca if Xavi Villajuana becomes president. Not only Harry Kane, in general, I mentioned Kane because he's a profile that could suit Barcelona, but I could have mentioned more players. He's a very good player. He could fit in. I am one of those who think players must have immediate performance, as happened with Lewandowski. Julian Alvarez would be a mix, but there are also other profiles on the market. So, ladies and gentlemen, Xavi Villajuana, again, contacting Harry Kane's camp because he believes it would be a good fit, someone that could have immediate performance, and I 100% agree. Now, of course, whether Harry Kane is going to want to come to Barca, that's a whole nother story because they're saying he's happy in Bayern, and he would want to renew. So we'll see. But just know that Xavi Villajuana has reached out to his camp. My question to you is, Harry Kane, yes, no, maybe? Let me know in the chat section or in the comment section if you are watching this when it ends. All right, let's do some comments. Mahmoud says, hey, Mo, what's up, bro? You kind of skipped my comment. Not anymore. I just read it. Sworn Dip Gosh says, why are the Barca media /board/players craving Alvarez? He's not worth the hype salary transfer fee. I mean, he's a great player. Don't get me wrong. It would be great to have him, but just not in number 9 and definitely not what for Atletico Madrid want. Definitely not. But I mean, you could see why any team would want him. I mean, he is a great player. He is a world-class player. I just don't think he's worth what they're asking for. And I don't think he would be the right replacement for Lewy. Now, if we were like super wealthy and we can sign an actual number 9 and Julian, then sure. But obviously that's not going to happen. And again, I don't think he's worth 200 million euros. Chuchu says, nobody paying 200 mil for Lamine, my brother. Actually, that's false. PSG had PSG had discussed paying 250. They were willing to pay 250 for Lamine. But of course, that was just internal discussions. No actual offer was made because they know Barcelona's not going to sell Lamine Yamal. That's crazy. But so I guess you are right. Nobody paying 200 mil because PSG actually wanted to pay 250. Edwin says 40 mil plus Casado plus Ferran sounds like a good deal to me. For what? Are you saying for Julian? Or what? I don't know if I know what you're talking about. Edward Hamilton says, nice to have you back, Mo, but let's face it, a remontada against Atleti is not going to happen. Let's just go game by game, beat Levante on Sunday. Is a remontada possible? I think yes. We do have the players. We do have the team. We do have the coach. We do have possibility of doing it. Will it happen? I don't know. It's all going to depend on the players. But if there's any team that can pull a comeback like this one necessary, like the one we need, is Barca. How do I know that? Because we've seen them do it time and time again. So can this team do it? Yes. Will they? That's completely going to depend on the players. If the players show up that match 100% ready to go out there and kill, then yes. But if they come out like they've been coming out the last few matches, walking around like they're too good to be there, then obviously no. Mike says, hey, Mo, all presidential candidates are making promises to sign top players. Where would you get that money if Laporta and Deco can't do it now? What are your thoughts? Yeah, unfortunately, that's just what candidates do, right? I mean, Laporta did it with Messi back in the day, promising he was going to keep him, and he couldn't. Now he's thought about, if you elect me, I'm going to bring Messi back for the goodbye thing and, build him a statue, blah, 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 and Font and City. I keep talking about bringing Messi back. And, I think the only one who's being realistic here is Xavi Villajuana, who's like, hey, Harry Kane, 60 mil. We can do that. The other ones are just like, Messi. It's like, yo, can we be real here? Messi's not coming back as a player, A. And B, can you stop using Messi's name? Like, how about we talk about actual players that we could sign for the club? But, Politicians will be politicians, my friend. Mkondo N says, "Hi Mo, it's Norman again, and I think I need to talk about a player from Bundesliga by the name Uzun. Is more like Pedri. I just like the guy. Uzun. I've never heard of him. Let me look him up. Uzun. Let me see. Bundesliga. Can Uzun. Let's see. He is Turkish, German Turk. 20 years old, attacking mid, international with Turkey, and currently plays for Frankfurt. Contract until 2029. Well, 14 appearances, 6 goals, and 4 assists. Those are really good numbers for a team like Frankfurt. Interesting. I will definitely look him up, my friend. Wow, his value has shot up. His value was, in the summer, it was 18 mil, and it's currently sitting at 45 mil. Only a few months later, has doubled. Thank you, my friend, for your suggestion. And let's see what else. Atmos says Rafinha left wing, Rashford center forward, Yamal right wing is the solution. Save money to buy a CB left back, right back. Rashford is not really a number 9. He can play as a number 9. So I don't know if the ideal thing would be to have him play there. Plus, again, we cannot make plans for a player that's not ours. We would first have to sign Rashford, which would cost us 30 mil, before we could even talk about him playing as a center forward. Also, if you do play Rashford as a center forward and Rafinha on the left, what happens when Rafinha needs rest, or when Rafinha is injured, or when Rafinha needs to be rotated, or Rafinha is suspended, or Rafinha, I don't know, has the flu? Okay, yeah, we put Rashford in his place. Okay, great. And Ferran in the number 9. But then when is Rashford going to rest? Not ideal. Not ideal. Let me see. What else? Hey, yo, Chill Clip says, it's funny how when the commentator says this player has not scored in 1,000 games, they end up scoring against us. Man, I guess that's Murph. Is it Murphy's Law? No, it's, I forgot what it's called. Law of the Jungle. I don't fucking know. There's a name for it. When, you pretty much jinx it. Evgeny says Kane would be a generational transfer for the next 3 to 4 years, but I'm not convinced he will want to leave Bayern. Osimhen, Kirasi, and Thuram are cool options, but will be expensive. Just go for LCB, a left center back. Here's the thing. Center forward is a bigger priority than the center back for Barcelona. Why? Because once Lewy leaves, we have no center forward. We have 0 center forwards. Sure, Ferran can play there. Sure, Rashford can play there, but again, we can't even make plans with Rashford because we don't know if we're going to sign him or not. But we have 0 center forwards once he leaves. Center backs, that's not the case. Do we need one? Sure. But it's not like if we don't sign anyone, we would have 0 center backs. Okay, we have Kouarsi. We have Eddie Garcia. We have Ronald Araujo. We have Christensen, who they're talking about maybe renewing him. I don't know why. I think it's fucking stupid. And, of course, we have Gerard Martin, who can now play there. So you're not left with 0 center backs if you don't sign a center back. But you are left with 0 center forwards if you don't sign a center forward. Let me see. Dev says, hey, Mo, what do you think about playing Lewy as a starter and Rashford as a number 9 sub if Ferran shows up on the pitch again? I'm filing a lawsuit against this club. The thing is about Lewy, he cannot be starting anymore. He's 37, and it's clear that he has more of a rotational role this season as opposed to a starter. Don't get me wrong, I would take Lewy over Ferran any day, but the problem is, he's not going to be able to keep up if he can, given his age. P4K Chema says, if we sell Fati to Monaco, Monaco's not going to buy him. Or Nottingham Forest, we should go for William Gomez from Porto or Matias Pardo for left wing, all under 21. I don't think Ansu's going anywhere, unfortunately, besides coming back. Leo Ford says, if you buy an outright number 9, will Ferran continue to be the backup? Number 9 for our club. For me, I don't think that is ideal. I think the club should replace both Lewa and Ferran. Probably, I think, Ferran will remain the backup because we don't have the money to sign too. It's like, sure, we could need maybe, and we hope to sign all these players. Like, we need a right back that can compete with Kunde, and a left back that can compete with Balde, and a left-footed center back, and a number 9 to replace Lewy, and a number 9 to be the sub of that replacement. I mean, and another left winger so to rotate with Rafinha. I mean, sure, all that would be amazing, but unfortunately, it's not FIFA, right? This is real life, and we don't have money. We don't have financial fair play. So out of all the positions that you would like to reinforce, you have to make the tough decision and say which one is the most urgent, which is the one that I need to sign someone ASAP. And you end up with a center forward. Because all the other positions, if you sign, great, but if you don't, you still have players that can play there, right? Is it better that we have a competition for Kunde? Yes, but if you don't sign anyone, you still have Kunde, right? And of course, we are going to have Hector Fort coming back in the summer. If we don't sign anyone for the left back, you're not left with no left backs. You still have Balde, and you have, there's music playing in the back, and you have Gerard Martin who can play there, and plus you have Jofre Torrents. Center backs I already talked about, right? So center forward ends up being the only position that if you don't sign anyone, you're left with no one. Anyways, that is all, ladies and gentlemen. That is all. I will be posting another video this time for real. I know I said that Wednesday and Monday. I said I'll post a video after the podcast, and I didn't. But I will. I will post in a second video after this one, so stay tuned to the channel. But thank you for tuning in for the podcast. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment. I will see you guys in that video, next video. And as always, peace, guys.